So I've had an addictive personality my whole life, if you could call it that. At this point, I'm not sure what to call it, or even if it's a thing. But all I know is that my experience is that I unfortunately just don't have the option where I can use substances or anything that's artificial and addictive. This includes any type of drug, alcohol, illicit drugs, painkillers, benzos, nitrous, even caffeine. I can't involve myself in any activities that are considered addictive, which is things like porn or yes, just things like that. Any actions that you can do that involve artificial stimulation. And even things like sugar can be triggering for me. I'm unable to eat a small amount of grains or sugar because it can trigger me into wanting more and more. I just seem to have this sensitive system where once something that's artificial touches my brain, it just really affects it very strongly. And this can even be seen in the drug use that I've done, where I will take a tiny microscopic amount of a drug that someone else takes a lot of, and it will just completely mess me up. It just have a sensitive system to it. That's it. And the thing is, you could argue that yeah, okay, well, if you do these things, just don't keep doing them. And the argument makes sense, and I have done that every now and then. The only thing is, as soon as there is a substance in my body, I just kind of lose my ability to have rational, complex decisions, creative decisions, things like that. I just lose that ability, and I just want to keep taking drugs. As soon as it's in my system, it's almost like it's out of control. Even though obviously isn't, I am always in control. It's just that it makes it harder for me to rationalize with it, and I'm just convinced by the illusion once again that drug use has some kind of benefit. And because of this, my whole life I have struggled with a fair few different types of addictions, and I have largely overcome them. And the way that I've done it, I have read all the books, I've done all the research, I've tried all the things. This is many years of this stuff. And what I wanted to share today is just a step by step path that I believe is includes the most beneficial things that I've tried that actually do work. I haven't included any of this stuff like self-care and moderation and replace it with this and that, because all that stuff just never worked for me. I've gotten straight to the point with this. So step one is making the decision to stop forever. This is Without this, it's just impossible. The only thing that can make you make the decision to stop forever is if you have a ton of pain and shame and problems and wastage and just issues socially and personally and financially and with your work, and just terrible issues that this use of this substance or thing or activity has caused. And once your pain outrides any pleasures that you get from this substance, then you will naturally want to make this decision. You will know that you need to stop forever because it's out of control. If you can't make that decision, if when you think, you know, I kind of want to stop forever, if you're not sure about it, then you're probably not ready. But also, when you make that decision to stop forever, your addictive voice comes up. The monster inside is what I like to call it. If you try it now, if you make a complete decision to avoid every single substance and drug and addictive activity for the rest of your life, you'll hear another voice come up saying, no, but that's a long time. Maybe there's some other occasions that I'll be able to do it, or whatever comes up. This is your addictive voice that we'll talk about later. Always trying to find ways to manipulate you to try to keep doing substances. But make this huge decision and stick to it. Do not ever use another substance or addictive activity again. So that's step one. And you need to make this step completely like a sacred agreement with yourself that you, no matter what, will stick to this agreement for the rest of your life. It is so important to make that decision. Naturally, fear will come up, and I can show you how to deal with all that later. But that decision needs to be made. Without that, you can't continue. Step 2 is to see the illusion of drug use. This will help you. I got a lot of this from Alan Carr's theories. He's the one that wrote the Easy Way to Quit Smoking, and he's written a whole other bunch of ones about alcohol. There's some drug ones, and I've read a lot of them. His whole thing was about seeing that drug use is a kind of illusion. That whenever you use one of these substances or addictive activities or things, you are just creating an imbalance. It is not giving you the things that you think it's giving you. You think caffeine makes you work harder and makes you more alert. But it really just gives you this buzzy, fearful feeling. And the work quality drops. You think you're working harder, you're just working faster and at a poorer quality. It's the same with alcohol. It's the same with all the drugs. They create this temporary imbalance that inevitably has to be fixed. You are ingesting poison to destroy yourself temporarily, then the body just swings the other way very quickly. You have to see that the only thing that you're doing with your drug use is satisfying the urge to use the drug or drink the thing or do the activity, whatever the addictive thing is. You have created an urge, a survival type urge, the addictive voice in the body. And by doing this thing, you simply are resolving this urge. If you had no urge, you would not do the thing. You would not binge eat. You would not drink alcohol. You would not take drugs. You would not struggle with porn. Whatever it is, if you did not have the urge, you would not do it. These urges that you get, these are key to recovery, and we will talk about these more later. But what's important at this step 2 is to see the pointlessness of it, the imbalance that it will cause. If you take a drug now, you're just taking away energy and time and finances and everything from your future to have some kind of experience in the present, which is just an imbalance. If you delay gratification, then you are creating a future for yourself. There is simply no way that you can be a happy, functioning, normal, peaceful, good human being who enjoys their life while you're taking and doing these things, while your body's in a state of imbalance. Our bodies are infinitely intelligent, and they will find balance no matter what we do. If you want to heal, then you must remove any artificial means of causing an imbalance, and then consult nature for its answers. Fasting, diets, various things like that can help you. Meditation, feeling emotions, the traumas, all these things. As long as you're still craving the drug, the first 72 hours is physical cravings, and then they're gone. The rest is psychological. If you're craving a drug after the first 72 hours, with exceptions to certain drugs like benzos, but most drugs and substances, if you're still craving them after 72 hours, it's purely psychological. You believe that this drug can do something for you. You believe it's going to do something for you. You believe that life in some way is better with it, that you are in some way defunct without this drug. But it's wrong. You just don't know who you are anymore because you're too trapped in this cycle of being imbalanced. See through the illusion that is drug and substance use. See that the only reason that you use these things is because you have the urge to use them. Just to satisfy that uncomfortable urge. It's very simple. So step three is very important. It takes practice, but this is the key. This is the key to long-term success with this. This is the key to a lifetime of freedom from drugs, substances, activities that are addictive. This is to do with the addictive voice. I call it my monster. If I take a drug, this monster comes out and it just wants more, more, more. It doesn't care if I live or die. It doesn't care if anything happens to me or my body. It's just this thing that I've created in my mind through abusing these things that is like a survival mechanism. It just wants more. At the start of recovery, the first month or so, this will come up. There is this voice that comes up. You can name it whatever you want. But the way it's defined is that any picture or word, any sentence, anything in the mind, any thought that in some way encourages use of drugs or alcohol or whatever it is that you're quitting, then that's the addictive voice. And it can be very manipulative. It can show you these movies of all these things. It can pretend to be you. It can pretend to be other things. It can be very convincing. You can hear it come in the back door saying things like, you're going to be alone tonight, or you have some money ready, or it'll be okay, just one last time. This is the one that got me very badly. One last time. One last time. One last time for months and months and months. That's the way it convinces you. This monster inside, it's a good idea to separate yourself from it. It is this enemy that's inside you that you've created by using artificial things. And the only thing it wants is to use drugs and alcohol, substances, until you die. It does not care about you or your health or your life in any regard. Know that it will kill you. Even while dying, it will still want more. It will use dying as a rationalization as for wanting more. This voice is very loud the first couple of weeks, but you get better at dismissing it. The key to this is when you hear it come up, you constantly be vigilant for it is the first step. Constantly be watching for it in its tricky ways that it comes up. And as soon as it comes up, never negotiate with it. It is not to be listened to. It is not to be negotiated with. Because if you're negotiating with it, it means in some way you're allowing it to be heard. You're thinking that, yes, maybe it has a point. You're agreeing with it to some extent. What I do is if it comes up, I yell at it. In my mind, I tell it to get fucked. I say, I see what you're doing, you're clever, but you are never going to get me to use this again, ever. I know the only thing you want is for me to use and die, and I need to have a good life, go away. Stuff like that. This sort of thing does make it calm down. With it sometimes comes up feelings, usually anxiety or strange sensations in the body. This just helps make it seem more convincing, like you need something to resolve these feelings. It will use everything to try to convince you. But you, your rational self who knows you're never going to use again, beat it down every time. Do not discuss with it. Do not listen to it. Tell it to get fucked and look the other way. One thing that was quite helpful for me is if you are getting the addictive voice urges come up very strongly, then do not move an inch of your body until it's gone. You have control of your body. It may be telling you all these things. You're trying not to listen, but it's hard not to. You're tired. Do not move your body an inch until this thing is defeated. Eventually it will calm down, and then you can go on living your life again. It never fully goes away. For me, it's triggered by things of a similar type. I quit drinking alcohol for 16 years now, I think it is. And I did other drugs. The only time I ever got urges to drink again was when I did other drugs. Not even hard drugs. So you can see that this addictive voice can be passed on to different things. Maybe you'll binge on sugar and then you'll think about drinking. Maybe you'll have a bunch of coffees and you'll think about getting some benzos. This exact thing happens to me. You think it's because you want to calm down, but it's because your addictive voice is just finding ways to convince you. The best way is to avoid everything, every addictive substance, every artificial substance and food and activity and whatever. Avoid them all for the rest of your life. After months of this, the addictive voice becomes much, much easier to deal with. You gain new levels of clarity about who you are and where you're going. Sobriety after a few months is very good. It can be very good. Mental clarity, even just dealing with normal problems without wanting to run away from them. Feeling your emotions without having to take a drug to help. Things get better and things get very good. But the only way to do it is to make that decision to avoid these substances for the rest of your life. Thanks, guys.